Hello, welcome to CodeLoc, and in this new lesson we are going to understand and learn about what is TableView and how, as a designer, we are going to implement the TableView. And first we have to understand what actually is TableView. So as you can see that in this first screen you see the bunch of items here, and in all those items the design is almost the same. Design is actually the same, but the content of that design is changing. So if we have to place all of these items that we have, for example, we have these 5 items here, we have to do it 5 times, right? But what if we do that with the table view? What table view we can do that? We can make one design, okay, and we are going to update or replicate the design for this all of these items, and we only have to do it once, and all the other things will be handled by table view. So let's just go into Xcode and we can see there how we can implement the table view. So let's just say that we are going to implement our table view to our first screen. So previously we have created this first screen with the navigation bar, and here we can add our table view. And if we go to our inspector, object inspector, and we can go type table view. So we can select this first thing called table view. We can place it into our view. We are going to increase the size to our from the top to navigation bar and top to the tab bar, bottom to the tab bar. And first we are going to constrain it like that. If you don't constrain it, doesn't matter for now because we are just going to design it. And in the tab views, what is going to happen is tab view has things called cells. Each item you are going to see here, if we are making with this table view, we have to make one cell, and it is going to replicate itself. So here if we go to our table view and we can select a table view, if we go to inspector, you can see that we have one option here called prototype cell. We can add one cell, okay, and we can go to this drop down, we can click our cell, we can go to our size inspector, we can remove this automatic, we can decide the size of our cell. For example, we take it like 60, okay. And now what we can do is that we can put our whole of our design what we want inside that cell, and then we will be writing little bit of code to replicate that design, okay. So first we can change, we can have a UI view, so we can create a clean design. We can put this UI view here, and we can change this UI view size to be, we can start adding little bit of constraints, and we are gonna add the height to this view also, okay. So now what we can do, we can add a button here for our redo button. So unfortunately, as in other platforms, if we are doing Android or we are doing website development, we already have checkboxes or radio buttons pre-built, but in Xcode we don't have it. We have to do it by code or by ourselves. So we can just remove the name here, and we can just add it to, we can just select our radio design, and for height width we can just add to 40, and we can change the we can just make it a little more smaller. We can add it to 35 and 35. Okay, and we can just place it in the middle. First what we have to do with the image, with the button, we have to give it the hard-coded height and width. Okay, and we can simply go to our inspector, and we just have to align in the center. First thing what we have to do is we have to add our label also, which is second thing we need is label to be written here for the task of our title, for the title of our task. And what we can simply increase the size of the label. And first we have to do what we change. We can change the font family. If we click on the fonts, we can go to custom, we can go search Avenir and book and 18. This is fine, and we can change our color to secondary. Okay, we can type task or my first task. Okay, and as you remember, previously we had stack views. For this also we are going to use stack views. So we can just select both of these views. We can click here. We can use bed in stack view. Okay, and what we can do, we can click on this inspector. We can arrange a sorry, we are just going to add this to from left 20 and from right also 20. Okay, and we are going to arrange this tab view to center vertically. So you see all of our warnings are gone. Our cell design is ready. Now to make table view work, it is not going to work if we are going to launch this application right now. It is not going to work. To make it work, we have to write a little bit of code. Without that we cannot see anything on the screen. So first of all, what we are going to do, we are going to make a new view controller. We are going to make a new file of the type view controller. We can click onto our project. We can create a new file, and we have to select this Cocoa attached class, and our file type will be UI view controller, which is correct, and we can name it like list view controller or list task view controller. We can click on next, and we have to create it here in this folder. See, our file is ready. We can go to our main view controller, and for this specific view controller we are going to give the file. How to give the file? We can select it from this view controller from here, or we can go select this file here. If you are here, you have to go to this class inspector, and here you have to this list task view controller file. Okay, and now whenever this view controller is going to come up on the back end on this view controller file, whatever the code in this file is going to get launched. So for the table view, you have to select this table view first, and if you can drag it to your view controller like that, you have to select these two options. Without these two options, the table view is not going to understand that you are using this table view in your specific view controller. You see that data source and delegate options. Now let's just go into your file and start implementing the little bit. The code is very easy, and it is going to be very easy for implementation. First you need two classes here. If you are not a coder or you're just learning this for just for the designing purposes, do whatever I am doing right now, and later in the time you will understand how the things are working. So first you need two classes. You call UI table view data source, the same classes that we have attached right now to our view controller, the same two options, and UI table view sorry, UI table view delegate. As soon as we add these classes, Xcode is going to start giving us a little bit of warning. Why it is giving us the warning? Because these two classes have a very designated base functions, okay, and it has to be implemented. Without that, the file cannot go further. If you go to the inspector and you go to this and this fix, you see that it has given us two functions here for table view, okay, and for table view these two functions are the main core function. Without that, this table view is not going to run. Table view has many other functions, but these are the core functions. Without that, the table view cannot run. Other functions are optionals, okay. We can add multiple kind of style and designing or the functionality with the other functions, okay. So first thing, the first function we are going to understand, it is saying that the number of row in a section. What is meant here is that how many rows you want it there. For example, you have the 5 options here, so here you have to return 5. If you need 10, you can write just 10, but you have to write this return here. You can add 5. And now second thing, what kind of cell you can show. In the table view there can be multiple cells, but you have to tell your code that this cell has to be run, the built-in cell. Before doing that, if we go back to our main storyboard and if we click on our table view cell, if I expanded, this is called table view cell, how the table view code is going to recognize that this table view cell should be called in that specific file. To do that, we have to give an ID to a TableView cell. If we click on a TableView cell, if we go to inspector, you see that the second option here is identifier, reusable identifier. That means whatever the ID we are going to type it here, we can access that ID in any class or in that specific class, and for there we can just make sure that this is the cell we are targeting. So we can just type custom cell ID, we can copy it here. Now we have to give it, now we have to type our cell here. We have to type the little bit of code to let this table view know that for which cell we are going to run, or on which cell this table view going to run. We can just type let cell is equal to this table view dot dq reusable cell of a string, this ID and dot index sorry, I think I messed up something. Yeah, sorry, we have to write it for index path, okay, and we have to give the return this cell, okay. Now with this code we are telling our table view that whatever the cell inside your table view, which cell we are running. So this ID will be making us sure that this cell is going to be run inside your table view. So you see that the warnings are gone. If we run our table view right now, let's just see what is going to pop up. You can see that we have 5 views here. So it is only one cell and it is replicating itself, and we can change the data of that cell. Okay, and if we type 10 here, it is going to make 10 views and is going to replicate itself by 10. You can see that. But one thing we are missing is our radio button or check button. For that, we have to go to our main view controller. As I discussed before, that for that radio button, we have to write code to make the radio button work. It is not going to come by default from Xcode. So if we go to, for the radio button, I already have written some code so that we can save a little bit of time. So let me just a little bit explain to you. We have two images here. We have two images. One is without selection, one is with selection. What I have did, I have added both images, and by this code, what I am doing is I am checking that whether that button is clicked or not. If that button is clicked, which image to show. If that button is not in a click state, which image or which unselected image would be showing. So in my assets folder, I have two images, radio checked and radio image. You can see in my code I have two. Checked image is a radio checked image, unchecked image is a simple radio image. Other code you don't have to understand, it's just a basic knowledge, or if you're going to have to learn the code, we can do that in our next series. But for now, what we can do, we can check our button and we can give it a class here. Our class name is checkbox. Checkbox is not going to affect here right now because it is written in the code, and it is only going to affect when we are going to run the code. If I run my code, my view controller is here. If I click on that, you see our checkbox is working. So one more thing, we have to remove this separation line, which is very easy. If we go to our table view, if we go to inspector, and we have to go to this separator section. You see separator default, we have to do it none. We can run our code again right now. You see our separator is also gone and our view is looking a bit more close to our design. Sorry, I don't know what my sketch is doing right now. So one more thing, we have this little view up there, we have to add it. If we can stop our view and we can go to our top constraint, by just going there, I can just also, I have to just one thing show to you, that if we have to select any constraint, we can put our mouse over there and we can click on that, our constraint will be gone. But if you want to see all of the constraint that our main view is loading right now, you see that this constraint I have to remove first, and I can move it a little bit down. I can add just simple a view. A view would be fine, and the height of that view is we can say it 100. Okay, and we can constrain this view first, 0 0 0, and the height should be there. We can move our view, or we can just give the background color just to see that our view is there. And we have to give the primary light color because it is little bit light from our top part, and we can just move our view controller to this side, and for this view you can move that up on the table view. For this we have to give a little bit spacing or constraint between these two views. What we can do, we can select this table view, we can click on control, we can click our button, we can drag it to here, and we can click on vertical spacing. You see that it's a little bit space here. We can also remove that space by 0, and our view is just right under that view. And in that view we have a label. We can just select, change the font family first. We can go to Avenir, can change the font size to be 25 or to be 30, and we can just type whatever it is, today's list. Today's it is written like that. We can change the color to secondary, and we can change to line to left and to two views, two lines. If we move our text like this, you can see our text started to show. We can add constraints. And as you can see that our view design is there. If we're going to run our application, so there is a little bit of problem with the font size. We can decrease the font size a bit, or maybe our text view is 4 lines. We can decrease the size like this would be fine. So you can see that a little bit more, 58 or 56 or 55. Don't know what is wrong with this view. Number of lines should be two lines, fine. So you can see that our view is now looking almost the same as we have in our design. So in the next lecture we are going to complete the design for all of these views, as we already know that we can add this by table view. We know how to add this view, and we are going to finish this edit screen, and then we are going to finish this new task screen, and after that it will be the end of this course. Thank you. See you in the next video.